Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you could join us here today. Welcome to Get Your Money Shit Together, Part 1, What's Your Money Story? And I just want to invite you. This is a 30-day journey. So sit back, relax. Today, I'm really going to do a lot of revealing, a lot of thoughtful provoking with you. Let's share a little bit of my story and invite you to the space where you can feel unjudged, supported, and in charge of your money. And I really want to begin today's first lesson, that first step in your 30-day Get Your Money Shit Together journey and challenge is to address what is your money story. And there's a reason that I focus here in like the what is your money story? How do you interact in the world with money? And I just want to say that one more time with you. Just feel into that. What is your money story? So I want to begin with a quick quote from one of my personal favorite books. This one is one of the early reads that I had, and I'll be sharing a lot of my story and how I got to here today, because that is my money story. And this book is called The Richest Man in Babylon. And the cool thing about The Richest Man in Babylon is it's written in story form. It's applicable even today. And it is chock full, I mean, absolutely full of wisdom nuggets, of juice, of things that if you just apply this one principle, it will change your money fortune. And because of that, I really want to bring that text home and begin with that quote. And then I'm going to lead you down a journey to help uncover your own money story. And I promise you, I'll give you an opportunity to outlet that and to express that. And a way to do that. There is a subscription for that. Check in the links below. If you haven't subscribed yet and you've fallen upon this video without being subscribed, make sure you check that link below and get subscribed so you can get all the goodies that come to you. This video is one piece. This interaction, this teaching mechanism part is one, but none of this goes anywhere until you click the buttons, until you allow it in, until you admit what is your money story, and then do these 30 steps. They are simple, they are bite-sized, and we're starting today with you. So there's a quote in The Richest Man in Babylon, and it goes like this. Our acts, it's the things we do, right? The actions that we take, our acts can be no wiser. Remember, so we can't behave, we can't act more wisely than our thoughts. So when I start with what is your money story, the first thing I want to highlight is if you don't know better, you can't do better. And that's okay. So let yourself go. I'm going to be asking for a lot of grace in these 30 days as I figure out all the tech stuff. And this is a super inspired project. So I'm giving myself tons of grace to make mistakes, to not have it work right, to just get started. But my thinking about this must be wise before my acts can be wise. And let me tell you, there was the knowledge in my life of what I've had and what I've known and what I've seen and studied and learned and seen in a textbook and even maybe seen other people do. I've seen so much, but it wasn't until I dug in and got clear about what's the money story I'm running in my life, not the money story I'm telling myself that I'm saying, but the money story that I'm really saying. And how do I know that? I know that by my actions. I know that by my behaviors. Your behaviors tell you your true money story. So our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts. So what is it you're thinking? That's the story. The thought you continue to think would be called a belief. A belief is just something you continue to think is true. So our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts. Our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. So I just want to take a moment and pause with that quote with you. Our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts. Our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. I want to just pause with you right now. For me, one of the biggest pieces of my money journey and what I feel now in my life is success. And it doesn't mean because I've retired myself a multimillionaire. I've semi-retired myself as a professor to pursue what inspires me next. But I'm not there. I don't have millions in the bank, and I am so happy, so defined by my own self, so available to the universe to supply and provide for me. And you're gonna hear a lot today about my money story. But I just want to take a moment and allow those words to sink in. Our actions can be no wiser than our thoughts, and our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. I'm just going to call in all the beings and everything you believe and all the support systems that you have in any divine source, in nature, in God, in the universe, and all that is. Inviting today, let our wisdom channels be opened. Let our understanding be secured. Let it come from our knowing in our minds and drop that wisdom into our hearts where understanding can be known. For we now understand that we cannot behave. We could not have up until now behaved any differently, for the understanding had not dropped into our hearts. But today, we drop that understanding from our heads into our hearts, allowing it into the core of our being and feeling it in our bellies, knowing that this is the day we shape our money stories the way we want them. We shift them, we change them to fit the lives that we are here on this planet to live. And that all will be made known, and that our deeds, our acts, our behaviors will easily and gracefully flow to support all these changes happening inside us. Letting go of any and all judgment I've had toward myself and toward others about behaviors around money, about spending, about saving, about having, about earning. And knowing now that our ears of wisdom be opened, our hearts of understanding aligned, and the power of our knowing sustained. Aho. Okay, so that is my wish for you today, that your understanding be opened. And I'm going to switch a little bit. I went a little crazy on the sitting on the knees for this long haul. I think I'll make a little shift here with you guys. Oh, yes, indeed. Gotta get comfortable when you're sharing the message, right? All right, so you guys will have to forgive all of these technical issues. My curtain's not quite wide enough to go this angle, but we're gonna do it. All right. Our acts can be no wiser than our thoughts, and our thinking can be no wiser than our understanding. So I want to bring you in today with this idea that addresses what is your money story? Who are you? What is it? What is the way you've been showing up in the world? Perhaps your parents have taught you quite a bit. In fact, we're going to dive in a little bit indirectly to this because I've heard you over the years, and money's scary, or it can be. Money can bring up all the stuff, yourself, all the ways that maybe you think you failed, all the ways that perhaps life hasn't been as kind to you as you would have had it, and maybe even the ways where you haven't quite harmonized how and where life was meaning to send that as a blessing. But you know that all things work together for good for them who are called according to his purpose, and something like that. It's a little rusty on my Bible, guys, but I love that scripture. All things work together for good for them who are called according to his purpose. And whoever his is for you, let it be. Let it be. Whatever just came up for you because I said Bible, let it go. Whatever just came up for you because I'm going to talk about receiving today, let it go. Yeah, you guys, oh, I can feel you through the screen, and I know when you see this, you're going to feel this because something is moving and shifting. I don't even feel a need to say the words. You are with this. You are feeling this. You are present. I prayed for one thing today as I sat and meditated on what I wanted to bring to you, and that was presence, that I may be present with you. And though you may be hearing this long after it's been recorded, or maybe you're going to hear it immediately, who knows, but wherever that is for you, that the moment your ears are ready to be opened, the moment your heart is ready to receive, that these words would fall upon you. So if you're here today, it is your day to change the money story you've been carrying. It's a big weight, guys. It's a big weight to carry a heavy burden around money. And since money, we'll talk about that later, about the constructs of money in another lesson in these bite-sized nuggets, but money isn't even real. So I just want to have you take a moment, and where in your life are you allowing something that is a man-made construct, this idea of I have a gift and you have a gift, and we don't always need to exchange our gifts at the exact same time. So we created a currency, a movement of energy, a storage of value for the energy that you put into the world. That's all money is. It's the storage of value of what you've given. And guess what? If you've already spent all of your money, no judgment. You just spent the energy you've made. Maybe you even spent more and you went into debt and you're feeling some type of way about that. That's part of your money story, and that is okay. How you feel about it is part of your story. Now, what you keep and what you stay in and where you go with that, that's going to be the part that empowers you. And you have the power to change the story. And that's what we're working on today. So I want to lead you into this indirectly. And the first thing I want to just question you, and the answer for most of you right now is going to be English, right? Because we're here and I'm speaking in English. But my question to you is, what language do you speak? So taking that for a moment, just what language do you speak? Let's dissect that a little bit, okay? So you could be listening to me now, understanding English, but maybe you don't speak English that well. Maybe English isn't your first language. Maybe your English is like my Spanish, where you can listen and generally speaking, follow the general conversation, could not contribute in words because your brain can't switch back and forth from Spanish to being able to try to communicate verbally. So what language do you speak? So the first part of that is just super simple, right? Is it English? Is it Spanish? Is it Arabic? Is it French? Where did you come from? That has a lot to do with it, right? And so that's the piece I'm getting into. So what language do you speak? Now it's easy for you to answer that. You've been practicing it. You've been doing it. Now, how do you know? Here's the next question. How do you know that language is the right language for you? Seems kind of a weird question, doesn't it? So what you getting to here today? So I just want you to marinate in that for a moment. How do you know? Like, you say you speak English. How do you know that that's what you're speaking? How do you know? How do you know this is English? How do I know all of these words to say da, 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 da? And how are you understanding what I'm saying right now? All of that happened. Why? It happened because someone, when you were born, and by the way, if your English isn't your first language, why? Why isn't English your first language? It's mine. right? So we can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. We understand that the language we speak is based on where we started in our origins and who was teaching us. So it's completely based on nurture, environment, learning, whatever all of the social skills of that would be. But I want you to understand that the language you speak is only what you've been taught, what you've learned, what you've absorbed from the environment around you. We're not born with a language. Money is no different, right? Let me ask you this. How has it been validated by the world? So you say you speak English. How has that been validated for you by the world? Well, how do you know you speak English? Because someone told you, you taught it, all these words go together, we call that English. Okay, well, how has that been validated for you? Well, we're here on this call today, so you've been validated, meaning we're speaking English and communicating and understanding each other, right? So when we get to communicate and that communication flows, we understand that, oh, okay, then I must be speaking English. That's how it's validated by the external world. And then since you've learned, right, maybe you speak English, but have you learned other things? Maybe you're here, English is your second language, so you've learned after the fact. Maybe you speak a couple of other languages. Maybe you're like me, where you have to go and immerse before the language will click in, and then you can speak well in Spanish, but trying to go back and forth, it's just not there. Wherever that is, you've learned it, right? You've picked up more through life. So you're born, you have no language, you learn a little bit of language. From that, you learn also how to pick up other clues, and you start to absorb all of these pieces, and now you have language. We have body language, we have, if someone frowns at you, you know they're angry. If they're smiling at you, you know they're happy. We learn these things. And then as you've expanded through time and you've learned more, have you noticed that your language is more fixed? Like once you've learned it, you're just done? Probably not, right? Or is it more dynamic, where like fluid? Are you learning new words all the time? Did you just hear a new crazy word and wonder, well, what does that mean? Or how does that work? So I hate weed eaters. So when you're looking at, hopefully this noise is not too much. Let's try that. So when you're looking at your money story, I want you to think about it like this. It is absolutely no different than your language. You came into this world, someone taught you a thing. From that thing, you've taken that thing out into the world and you've validated it and mixed it up, and it's been dynamic and you've learned more. If you look at where I came from, people talk like this and they have their accents, and my mom said oxygen instead of oxygen. Like that is how I grew up. But growing up curious about the world, I was always looking and seeking and watching and absorbing from things outside of my small town community that I grew up in. And my language, the words that I speak, the ways that I say them, it has evolved. So I don't really sound like my family. I don't know what I sound like, maybe some hodgepodge in between, but I don't sound a lot like anyone in my family or anyone in my hometown because I've mixed and merged. So when you are in your money story, I want you to understand, first and foremost, wherever you are, you are. You have up until now inherited it. Why is it inherited? Even if you chose some things and you learned some things, until you are in choice, until you are clear and you know what you want and what you're doing with it, until you have, dare I say, understanding, then you can't really be acting from a place of wisdom. Now, some of you are on this call and you've kind of gotten that down and you're just looking for those tweaks to help you with that. Maybe you are looking for your behaviors to be tweaked a little or whatever that is. I promise you, follow along with me in these 30 days and we're going to shift this money story to be exactly what you want it to be. But now I digress, because sometimes the money stories you're carrying are supportive and helpful. So we're not scrapping the whole thing. We are identifying. We're not going to scrap English because we now want to learn Spanish. We're identifying what we first know, what we have, what we hold to be true, what is our truth. So what is your money story? So how do you know what your story is about money. I'm going to share with you a few things about how I discovered my money story, and I hope that it resonates and connects with you in that way. So first and foremost, when I was 19 years old, I had a child at 17, right before I graduated high school. In fact, I gave my valedictorian speech with my newborn baby in the audience in high school. And so then went straight off to college, and now I was about to turn 19 and get married. I was a freshman in college, and here's what I knew. The woman takes care of the money. How did I know that? Well, is that true for everyone? Right? It's not, right? In many families that I discovered way later, actually the woman is completely clueless and the guy is taking care of it. And in some families, the woman's taking care of it and the guy is clueless. And some, they do it together. And some, nobody's taking care of it and it's a mess. So my story wasn't true in the world, but does that matter? It was true to me. So the first thing I want you to understand is not every story you have and hold true to you is true in the world, and that's okay. Because it doesn't matter what the world thinks about this. It matters how you feel and what's going on with you, because then you get to open up to a new story or to paint that story the way you want it so that it serves you. So it doesn't matter if it's true or not, even if you write it down and you understand, well, that's stupid, that's not true. It's okay, it's part of your story. So for me, I'm 19, I'm getting married. I don't know anything about money. I'm a kid. I was like, I just had a kid and I'm a kid. Now I'm getting married and I'm a kid and I don't know anything and I'm a kid. So the way in my life, I've been a very studious person, you guys know, because that's why I was a professor. But in my life, how I handle things that I'm jumping into that I don't know what to do, I study. I research, I study, I learn. I immediately go to who has done this before? What do they know? How do you do it? Look, where's the framework? What can I do right? Now that's been both serving and unserving to me, because sometimes when you get caught up looking for how everybody else does something right, you forget that you can write your own. But sometimes we need a guide. So I took a personal finance course. In that course, I started to learn the principles of money and how they work. And in that course, I developed an entirely new story about money and what money means and how you can work with it. And in fact, I developed such a new and powerful story around money that it changed my entire trajectory. And I chose to study finance and economics and specialize in money. I wanted to know, what is this money thing? People fight about money all the time. People get stressed about money. People will trade literally most of their life away for this money thing. What is this? I had to know. So at 19, I became a student of money because of a few things. Number one, I had a story that the woman takes care of the money. And when I'm going to take on a job, I take it seriously. I'm pretty, I don't like to take on big jobs, actually. I'm a little hesitant, a little avoidant on taking on responsibility sometimes. But that's because I know when I take it on, I'm all in. And I was about to be a wife, and I was already a mom, and I needed to be all in. So I started learning the money. But I went all the way in, made a career of it. And what happened, though, in that 19-year-old self? Here's another piece of my story. And I want you to, as I'm sharing, start to imagine your own story. What are the things that have happened in my life? Yeah, why do I do that? Start to pay attention to the things you do and ask yourself, why do I take care of the bills? Oh, because in my household, this person did, right? So there are things that we've seen that we subconsciously picked up and made part of our story that are true for you, but they don't have to be. And so here's the biggest piece. If it's only true for you, or if it's specifically true for you compared to someone else, then that means you can change it. So some of these things we're going to keep. What happened for me is at 19, I was 14-year-old. I had a memory of being 14. And my version of the story, we left our home and we moved into the basement of a church. My dad was a pastor. And as it were, times flow in and out, and he actually was laid off or retired. Something happened in his job. I was 14. I didn't care what, probably. But something happened and he was no longer working. I think he was injured, actually. And so he was no longer working, and then the money kind of ran out. And so we couldn't afford to keep his dream, our church, alive. The church was not, it was not a big church. We were not supported by the church funds. So he paid to keep the church alive. And so we couldn't keep our home and our church. So my dad made a decision. My parents made a decision together. I blamed my dad as my childhood, interestingly enough, but as my mom passed away, I realized that it was her dream as much as his. So sometimes you never know what you're judging from the outside until you really see in. So my dad had a dream to have a church, and we could not have both financially at that time. So now, mind you, if I wasn't being such a spoiled brat, this space was enormous. They gave me the biggest bedroom. It was way better than the house we were in, actually, the space-wise. But I was embarrassed. So my story was, if you have to move in a church basement, it's embarrassing. And so I was embarrassed, and I did not make that easy on my parents. But I decided when I was 14, I will never do this broke thing. I'm not going to do this. Now, mind you, never say never, because I've gone through 3 crashes in my life, one at 14, one at divorce, and one about 5 years ago. So it happens, right? But I made a decision at 14 that I did not understand was driving me until I was in my 30s, actually. But at 19, I decided I better learn money. But remembering sort of, that driver that I wasn't consciously aware of perhaps at the time, that 14-year-old who had promised to never be broke. So then I found a way to keep that promise. Ooh, I'll learn about money. Now, learning about money does not mean you're never broke. I promise you that. So now we're looking at a dynamic story about money. We can start to change it. Ooh, if you're probably going to run out of money to do your dream. If you have a big dream, you're going to be broke. Okay, ooh, identified story for me. I've had the privilege of unleashing and unlocking lots of these little pieces throughout my life. Oh, if you have a big dream, you're going to be broke. And I literally played that out in my life, guys, literally. So luckily, it's no longer there. I'm no longer in that space. But 5 years ago, I ran myself all the way broke because my dream was so big that I took everything I had. I cashed out retirements. I did all the things to not let that moment pass when I didn't even have a clue what I was doing. So I invite you to pay attention where you're doing things that are like from a place of panic, from a place of what's next or what should I do? Those are all part of your money story. And I ask you, don't judge it. Don't judge the story. Don't make it wrong. For today, only for today. So you're going to get this video with your activity sheet for the day, which is going to just walk you through considering what is your money story. And for today, just for today, don't judge any of it. Just identify, notice. You might even keep this worksheet on hand and keep coming back to it as you start to notice other things. Your actions are going to be only as wise as you and your thoughts, right? Your thinking. Your thinking can only be as wise as your understanding. So inviting in that understanding, inviting in that wisdom, so that like me, when I was 14 and 19 and I picked up pieces of that money story, and that over time I had the opportunity to dissolve, to let go, to invite change, to go deep, to cry, to do all the things to unleash and allow. But what I wanted you to understand is that the process I'm offering you, this 30-day challenge, these are the things I do. These are the reasons that I could semi-retire. I'm 44 years old right now. I've semi-retired myself as a professor to pursue other passions. I have enough in the bank to kind of cover rainy days, but I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not financially retired. But I've chosen, because I understand money, because I know how it works, and because of my true money story now, that I am the source. This is me. Wherever your story is, it is. But now my story is, I am the source. All the goodness that comes to me through me because I am me, because I choose to allow it to flow. The divine gifts that come to me to be present in this earth are up to me. Because whatever I believe in to be there and to be offering, whether I believe in God or the universe or all. I believe in it all personally, because if there's going to be someone in divine on my team, I want them, please. So all of the beings and all the divine that offers gifts for me, I receive, but only at my own channel. And I understand that my receiving decides how much they allow. So therefore, the source is me. The source is always me. There is no job that is my source. There is no person that is my source. There is no outside. There is no government. There is no people. There is no business. There is no bank account that is my source. I am the source. I am the one who allows. And for those of you who are having a moment of struggle right now, because what about God and the power of God? Understand that the gifts can come from God, but God himself, no matter what God you believe in, God is not going to force on you. Therefore, you are the source. Whatever gifts, whatever divine being, whatever divine resources want to come to you, it is up to you to receive, and only you. So sometimes it comes by the works of our hands. Sometimes it comes from miracles we don't understand. Sometimes it just comes in ways that make perfect sense as they unfold, but we could have no clue about in advance. And sometimes we plan and invite them. So we're going to be doing a lot of inviting money to the party over this month together. We're going to be doing a lot of paying attention to where we are, and is money really have an open invitation to our party? You're going to work through some mini activities. We're going to give you these bite-sized nuggets every day. I'm going to, as best I can, keep every lesson in the 30-minute window so that you can digest it over lunch or as you're driving and commuting to work if you need to. Sometimes you might want to just take the space to sit down and push everything else away and begin to do it again and work. But I'm going to invite you to spend the 30 minutes with me live like this, and about 30 minutes with your activities that will come in your email every day. Again, register with the link below. And if you haven't done that, and we're going to change this thing, guys. Whatever it is, we're going to be painting your story. We're going to be shifting your story. We're going to be allowing and inviting you to all good things. And I have just one more thing. I want to go to the site and briefly before I release you today, because I know you guys are getting ready. So if you go to the site, you're going to see the site, the Money Challenge site. You're going to see a list of these 30 lessons. So for those of you who cannot, you linear thinkers who cannot move forward until I tell you what's next, there's a whole list, days 1 through 30. They're probably backwards there for you, but you can see how they work. Days 1 through 30, there's a whole list of what we're going to cover each day. If you miss a day, no worries. There is no pressure. There is no rush. There's no need for you to feel anything but good in the space. Sometimes it's going to stir up your stuff. Let it. But no guilt, no judgment, no rush, no shame. We're just here, all of us working together to upgrade and up-level our money story, our money journey, and how the money stuff in our lives interacts with us in order to support and to move forward the dreams and goals that we have. I love you guys. I thank you so much for being with me today. I had more, but this feels complete. So those of you who are hanging on, feeling a little bit urge for more, hang in. Those of you who feel complete, I release you. I am going to linger and do just a little bit of a bonus for those of you who really, really just can't stop right now because you realize you've just tapped into something. A moment for those. Thank you and goodbye if you feel complete. Okay, so for those of you who are looking for that little bit of bonus, I want to keep these to 30 minutes, so I always will pause, and then there may be some bonus sometime because I have more to say. So I just wanted to introduce you to what's going to be on your worksheet today. So there's a story about money, right? So you want to look at what is the story you have about money and how is it evolving and changing. So first of all, you want to know, where am I now? Like, where am I right now? If I were to just take a snapshot, what's my money story right now? Now, we're not talking about what's in your bank account, although the bank account probably is a good way to tell what's in your story. But we're talking about your story. Where am I now? Does money not grow on trees? Is money hard to come by? Do I have to work hard to get there? What is that story? So as you work through this worksheet, I invite you to just really look at, where am I right now? And then, where do you dream of being? So, okay, I'm here in my mind. This is how money feels for me. This is how I interact. This is what happens inside my body when I start thinking about money stuff. And then, where do you dream of being? Well, what would you like it to look like? What would you like it to feel like? Yes. And then, what story would you need to believe to get there? So this piece is all about the story. What would I need to believe? What would I need to know? How would I need to react to be able to get to that story that I really wish I was saying and wish I was feeling and experiencing about money? And again, no judgment. So there's one more quote I'm going to add here. And again, this is the piece to accompany the worksheet, and that's why I separated it out. Some of you may still be listening along. So I have another quote for you, and it's this, and I love this. Without wisdom, so this is why you're here. Without wisdom, gold is quickly lost by those who have it. So without wisdom, remember, you're here to gain wisdom and transmute that into understanding. Without wisdom, gold is quickly lost to those who have it. But with wisdom, can you say that with me? With wisdom. One more time, because I know you guys are about to do that worksheet and I want to get some energy powered up in that body. With wisdom, yes, with wisdom, gold can be secured by those who have it not. With wisdom, gold can be secured by those who have it not. In the story of the Bible, and I finish with this, we have King David, and he dies, and his son Solomon is a young man. Anybody feel to anything, to this, to that, to do I'm too young, I was too young to be a mom, I was too young to be a professor, I was too this, too this, too this. Ever feel too young for something? And Solomon was about to be king. And Solomon said a prayer, and this prayer, and I paraphrase, went something like this. All right, God, I'm a kid, right? I get it. My dad, he did all this cool stuff and he was a king, but he was like a real king. He killed giants and slayed bears and led people, and he danced, and he had this full life, and I'm a kid. How am I supposed to be king? But I'll tell you what, God, I get it. It's my role. Here's what I'm going to ask. Forget all that stuff, because something tells me that I can have all that stuff and lose it all. I've seen kings lose their stuff before. Offer me some wisdom. Help me to understand. Help me to know what's right from wrong. I'm here. I'm a king. I'm in charge of all of this. Anybody have a big vision in your life and you're feeling so oh my God, I'm terrified, but this is amazing. And that calling is on your life. And you say, but I'm a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not experienced in this. I don't know enough. I'm too this. I haven't been there. I haven't tried. I don't know. And yet you say, I'm going to say yes. Oh God, I'm going to say yes, but I have no idea what I'm doing. So here's what I ask of you. Solomon asked for wisdom and understanding. And in that story, and this is why I love this particular story so much, Solomon, if I were to say as a leader, who I look up to the most would be Solomon in terms of biblical and historical accounts. And the story goes, because Solomon had asked for wisdom to help him be a leader to his people, then everything was granted him. Then he received the riches, he received the notoriety and the fame and this, there's a lot in the story, and all of these stories are kind of old to me and I haven't studied in a while, but I invite you to remember that without wisdom, gold is quickly lost by those who have it. Anybody? I have been that girl without the wisdom. I've had way more. I say that in my earlier years, in my early 30s, I had more passion than wisdom and more money than understanding. So without wisdom, gold is quickly lost by those who have it. But with wisdom, gold can be secured by those who have it not. So wherever you are today, and I end with this, wherever you are today, whatever you're doing today, wherever you are in your life, understand this. Invite wisdom. Invite understanding. When you pray, don't pray for money, pray for understanding and wisdom. Because with that, you, my friend, can go have everything. And I'm sitting in front of you today in an empty apartment. You probably hear the echo, having moved one more time, because over the last few months, by opening myself up to my own teachings, by opening myself up and by focusing in and praying on wisdom, I am literally living my dream life. I have everything I want, and everything else I'm creating is coming from inspiration. And when you can create from a place of wholeness, the bliss is out of this world. And I promise you, come along with this journey, do the work, go deep, ask for wisdom, seek guidance. You are going to change your life. I love you. I'm so glad to be present with you. I see you. I see your heart. I love you and all that I see, even with maybe some broken bank accounts. I am you. I've been there. I am there. I'm on the journey with you. See you tomorrow.